Students, please rise for the faculty processional.
Well, good afternoon. Would the audience please rise and remain standing for the posting of the colors and the singing of the national anthem by sympathetic vibrations.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air,
Please be seated. Well, welcome. This afternoon, in addition to our students who are preparing for military service, I'd like for us to take just a moment to recognize veterans and active service members in the audience. If you have served or are currently serving in any branch of the U.S. military, please rise and let us thank you. Thank you for your service. We're a better country because of it. At this point, I'm pleased to introduce Leah Jameson Miller, a candidate for the Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration, who will give the reflection and has some fans in the audience.
Good afternoon, graduates, family, and friends. Graduation. Today is the day. This is a day that I've had marked on my calendar for a very long time. 437 days ago, I downloaded a countdown app and entered May 4th, 2019. When I first began my countdown junior year, 437 days seemed like it would never come. Now, it says 0, and I can barely believe it. I've attended 4 commencement ceremonies here at Georgia Tech, and I've witnessed thousands of students turn their tassels, thousands of balloons fall, and tens of thousands of proud friends and family members cheer for their graduates. And now, it's our turn. When we made the decision to come to Georgia Tech, we knew that we would one day receive our diplomas and become proud graduates. We would hang it up in our rooms and keep a pocket diploma on us at all times, and we would finally be a part of that powerful Georgia Tech alumni network we had always heard so much about. But those thoughts were always preceded by one day, eventually, and in the future. Georgia Tech has taught us a lot. We have all had those classes where we thought we weren't going to make it through. But perseverance is something that most of us learned our first semesters and continue to have throughout our journeys. And while we were told at Facet that Georgia Tech would be difficult, it's one of those things you kind of just have to experience for yourself. From being student athletes who had to juggle practice, games, and studying, to students who spent endless hours in the library trying to ace every exam, to students who had to work full-time to put themselves through college, we have all worked hard to get to this point. We have earned this celebration. So here's to all the memories of never-ending construction, hearing the band play outside our windows during finals, joining the three-stripe life, confusing visiting fans with a horse after games, and being the last class to remember watching The Miracle on Techwood. But let us also pause to remember those that were unable to complete their journeys with us. And let us also remember our fallen oak tree and that we will be the last class to receive a diploma from President Peterson. I always imagined graduation as a final step, me closing this chapter. But as I stand here before you today, I realize this is only the beginning of our journeys, and tomorrow marks day 1 of it. Tech has taught us hard work, teamwork, innovation, and much more. Today, when we turn our tassels, it'll commemorate only a continuation of the work that we have done and the platform for the new heights we will reach as we create the next. And wherever you are heading after graduation, Georgia Tech will never leave you. The impact that you've made on this campus will be remembered, and our memories of this great institute will forever live on. Congratulations, graduates, and may the 4th be with you. Thank you.
I've got a gift for you. Leah, congratulations and good luck in all the future holds for you. Graduates, members of the faculty and staff, distinguished guests, families, and friends, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to the 257th commencement exercises of the Georgia Institute of Technology. This weekend's commencement exercises recognize our spring graduates. Today, we celebrate 2,230 undergraduate degree recipients who joined the more than 1,570 graduate degree recipients from yesterday. As is the case for them and for you, the success of our institute is seldom a one-person effort. As we celebrate the successful conclusion of one chapter of your lifelong education, it's important to acknowledge that you haven't done it alone. With you today are many families, friends, and colleagues whose love and support have helped to make this day possible. For some parents here today, this is not your first Georgia Tech ceremony. If you're the parent of one or more proud Georgia Tech graduate, or if you're a Georgia Tech alumnus, please stand and let us recognize you. At this time, I'd like to recognize several members of the stage party, and I ask that you hold your applause as they stand until I've completed introducing all of them. First, Dr. David McDowell, Georgia Tech's 2019 Distinguished Professor and today's Mace Bearer. Good, good. Dr. Shawi Abdallah, Executive Vice President for Research. Dr. Bonnie Ferry, Vice Provost for Graduate Education and Faculty Development. Dr. Colin Potts, Vice Provost for Undergraduate Education. Mr. Dean Sheehan, Vice President of Government and Community Relations. Mr. John Stein, Vice President of Student Life and Dean of Students. Dr. Stephen Gerardo, Associate Vice Provost for Undergraduate Education. Dr. Paul Cohn, Vice Provost for Enrollment Services. And Mr. Jay Forrest, Data and Statistical Analysis Manager for the Library. And Ms. Rita Pikowski, Registrar. Thank you for being with us today. This is a momentous day for each of you as graduates, and for your family and friends who are sharing in the celebration of your many accomplishments. You've worked very hard to earn your degree, which in many fields is one of the best in the country, and in some, the best in the world. Each of you has a story of how you reached your educational goals, and I'd like to share just two of those stories with you today. After Juan Sebastian Rubio and his family immigrated to the United States from Colombia, his mother worked in hotels so that he could be the first in his family to go to college. He transferred to Georgia Tech from a community college, and this afternoon he's graduating in mechanical engineering with honors, and he's been accepted to graduate school at Johns Hopkins University. Sobi Abada and her family immigrated and settled in Montezuma, Georgia. She worked and went to school full-time, and today is receiving her degree in business administration. She has accepted a job with Deloitte. There are 1,200 more stories out here in the audience today, each of them special, and they each belong to one of our special graduates. You know, when I think about your accomplishments, I'm reminded that all of you were touched in one way or another by the investments of our alumni and our supporters, either through scholarships or fellowships, through interaction with a faculty member that holds an endowed chair, or through the tremendous facilities that we've been able to build here at Georgia Tech. and for that, we are all very grateful. At Georgia Tech, we pride ourselves on being trailblazers who drive real-world change by embracing challenges, thinking critically, and developing innovative solutions to some of the world's most pressing problems. We continue to work toward our goal of making a Georgia Tech education within reach of every qualified Georgia resident, regardless of their family income. Today, we're proud to say that among our graduates are 15 G. Wayne Clough Georgia Tech Promise Scholars. And because of that scholarship program, these students with the greatest financial need are able to attend Georgia Tech and graduate debt-free. It's through their hard work and Georgia Tech's commitment, along with the generosity of our alumni and donors, that we're able to provide a debt-free education for these students. It's something that you and I, these students, and the rest of the residents of the great state of Georgia can be proud of. And as for you, your Georgia Tech education has been designed to prepare you to work collaboratively, to identify challenges and create solutions, and to be leaders in business, industry, government, and in the communities in which you will live, work, and play. Here at Georgia Tech, we're in the business of creating the next idea, the next technology, and the next innovators and entrepreneurs. We're empowering the next generation of scientists, engineers, businessmen and women, architects, and so many others, engendering in each of them the passion and skills that they will need to design our collective future. You will be forever linked to this great institution, and we're looking for great things from each and every one of you. We're very fortunate this afternoon to have as our commencement speaker Ms. Gretchen Corbin. Ms. Corbin currently serves as President and CEO of the Georgia Lottery Corporation. Since assuming that role in January of 2018, she's worked to fulfill the corporation's mission to maximize revenue for Georgia's Hope Scholarship and pre-kindergarten programs. The Georgia Lottery provides $1.2 billion to the state of Georgia each year for Hope and pre-K programs. Since its inception in 1993, the Georgia Lottery has returned more than $20.5 billion to the state for educational purposes. More than 1.8 million students have benefited from Hope scholarships and grants, and more than 1.6 million four-year-olds have attended lottery-funded pre-K. Prior to her role at the Georgia Lottery, Ms. Corbin served as the commissioner of the Technical College System of Georgia. At the TCSG, she oversaw the state's 22 technical colleges consisting of 135,000 students, 46,000 economic development trainees, 15,000 employees, and an $800 million budget, and a host of economic and workforce development programs, including Georgia Quick Start, the nation's top-ranked workforce training program. Ms. Corbin joined TCSG from the Georgia Department of Community Affairs, where she served as commissioner. At the DCA, she oversaw 65 programs and was responsible for more than $71 million in investment in Georgia communities. And prior to DCA, Ms. Corbin served for 15 years in a variety of roles at the Georgia Department of Economic Development. Her work with Georgia and throughout the world helped bring almost 69,000 jobs and more than $13 billion in capital investment to this state. With her leadership and experience at these agencies, Ms. Corbin has a unique understanding of the way education and business must collaborate to ensure that Georgia has a globally competitive workforce. When I read her background and the various positions she held, in every single one of those positions, there's been a close connection with the Georgia Institute of Technology. Named the past 6 years as one of Georgia Trends magazine's 100 most influential Georgians, Ms. Corbin was also named one of Atlanta Business Chronicle's top 20 women who mean business, and she's one of the James Magazine's 2018 most influential Georgians. Ms. Corbin and her husband, David, have 2 daughters. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Gretchen Corbin, President and CEO of the Georgia Lottery Corporation.
Thank you. As President Peterson mentioned, I'm Gretchen Corbin, and I'm President and CEO of the Georgia Lottery Corporation, which means I get to go to work for Zell Miller Scholars and Hope Scholars every day. So to be here with you on your graduation is literally a dream come true for me. So I have to ask, how many of you have received the Zell Miller or Hope Scholarship? Thank you. Parents, how many of you are excited about the Zell Miller and Hope Scholarship? Well, our Hope Scholars and all of the graduates here today have earned a degree that we believe will be as valuable as winning a Georgia lottery ticket. Graduates, today is your day. President Peterson, thank you for your kind introduction and for the invitation to celebrate Georgia Tech's 2019 graduates with you and the Georgia Tech family. And a special note of appreciation to you and Queen Bee Val for the beloved work that you have done with this institution. Both of you have put your heart, soul, and steadfast commitment into Georgia Tech, and we will all benefit, whether a graduate or whether a citizen of Georgia, for decades to come. Thank you very much. President Peterson, members of the Board of Regents, distinguished faculty and staff, parents, family, friends, and most importantly, our esteemed graduates of the class of 2019. It's an honor to spend this occasion with you. And graduates, I know that you have friends and family in this pavilion who have supported you during the undergraduate years, and many who have traveled the world to be here today to celebrate you. I know that you are excited to see them as they are you. So I wanted to give you a quick second and ask you to give all of your family members a big round of applause. Well, I grew up in Georgia admiring Georgia Tech, and my first memory of Tech was spending time with my family as a young girl being taught to sing "I'm a Ramblin' Wreck from Georgia Tech" by my great uncle, George P. Burdell. You like that joke? I'm very proud of that joke. Obviously, George P. Burdell was not my uncle, but I had a gentleman named Joe Rickett, who was my dear great uncle, and he was from the Georgia Tech class of 1938. And Joe and his twin brother George started here in 1934. And Captain Brand, I will tell you, we're pleased to report that he was in ROTC while here at Georgia Tech. Joe was the most energetic Tech fan I knew. I was always excited to see him because I knew I was going to be able to sing a little bit and to curse a little bit. When I was a little girl, he said I could say "hell of an engineer." So I was quite excited to see Joe. He would line all of us children up and he would ask us to sing "Ramblin' Wreck." Joe wanted to experience, or all of us to experience, the camaraderie that Tech had to give and to become a better person as a result of their affiliation with Georgia Tech. And now, having worked and partnered with Georgia Tech at all levels, whether with President Peterson and the faculty and staff here on the recruitment of companies to Tech Square, to interns who have helped us open a State of Georgia Economic Development Office in Beijing and Qingdao, or with my current Georgia Tech colleagues who set the jackpot at the lottery. I have experienced the tech camaraderie and feel that working with each of these individuals have made me a better person. I've been honored to partner with Georgia Tech and to champion each one of you students. And I recognize that today, I'm not just at one of the top universities within the United States, but one of the most highly respected schools in the world. And I understand this because I've experienced the reverence for tech when traveling around the world and meeting with CEOs and executives. When we were marketing Georgia as a location for economic development, I routinely heard from company executives of their respect for this institution, and specifically the graduates of Georgia Tech. So understanding the respect that you all receive around the world and the intellect of all of you today, you might guess that I struggled a little bit when preparing for today about what gift of information I might share with you that you don't know. And that's tough when addressing graduates who have conquered the rigor of Georgia Tech's curriculum, studied subjects from engineering to business and all subjects in between. To you who are at the intersection of innovation and community, and I know you have already established habits of giving to your community, and some of you have already started working, whether through internships, co-ops, or the next job to come. And then it struck me, I do have something to share with you, and that's 26 years of experience. I remember sitting in a chair like yours during my college graduation, and the time between that day, which seems like yesterday, and now, I have picked up a couple of principles that I would like to share with you. These 3 items are pretty simple. They don't take a Georgia Tech graduate to figure out. But maybe I can confirm to you that these 3 principles will be helpful in your journey if you choose to follow them. And my 3 principles of success to share today are: be your best self, champion others, and seize the day. In being your best self, work and live with integrity. Be kind. Be kind. Probably the most important that you will hear today. Be kind. Always treat others as you want to be treated. As a Georgia Tech graduate, others are going to look to you for leadership and character. Exemplify the Georgia Tech character through your kindness and servant leadership. This can be sometimes as simple as speaking to colleagues in the hall, saying good morning, investing in conversations that are important to others. Make strong decisions for yourself and others. And when you're making decisions, think about how they will positively impact the decision you are making for the moment, but also for the individuals who will come behind you for generations to come. And sometimes the toughest when being our best self is to recognize when we make a mistake and apologize to anyone we may have impacted. I can tell you, and you already know this, that people really see who you are during the tough times of life. So be yourself during the tough times, and everyone will have the opportunity to see your true character and to see how wonderful you are. Number 2, champion others. Build relationships. You have the great technology at your hand to keep relationships of so many people here today and around the world. Keep all of these many relationships going, but also invest in a small amount of individuals personally. Make sure you share your personal time with your friends. Collaborate. And when leading others, as you all will as Georgia Tech graduates, get to know your teammates' strengths. You know the strength of a Georgia Tech graduate, but but discover others' unique talents and let your colleagues know that you value their work and find ways to encourage their growth. And if you want to lead in a way that will change a person's life, introduce others to the door of opportunities that they never knew existed. Open the doors for them, encourage them to run through the doors of opportunity, and watch them succeed. And the most basic tip of all is to remember to say thank you to those around you. From your family, to your friends, to your colleagues, let everyone around you know how much and why you appreciate them. People often speak of balancing life, but the secret is we can balance life when we rely on and support our family, friends, and colleagues. Never ever forget that relationships make the world go round. And 3, seize the day, because the time after college graduation is a unique time to map out and begin executing your life in a way that will reach all of your dreams that you hold dear today. Because no matter the responsibilities you have at this moment, your responsibilities will grow. So take this unique time and be bold in taking risks now. I promise you, you will receive the return of strong rewards. And why not be bold? You're graduating from a university located in the home city of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the home state of Governor Zell Miller. Dr. King, who was bold in believing he could change the world, and he did for all of us. Governor Miller, who took a risk creating a lottery for education to fund the Hope Scholarship to keep the best and brightest students in the state of Georgia, and many of you are here with us today. Be inspired by Dr. King and Governor Miller and change your community. Never ever be limited by fear or self-doubt, but instead be courageous in your next steps. This is your time to seize your day. So just think about recent Georgia Tech attendees, like Joy Blumweeny, class of 2012, who has launched the Algorithmic Justice League, taking the bias out of decision-making software. Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan, who since attending Tech has been a professional baseball player, started and sold a marketing business, has run and won 3 campaigns, and now serves our state as our great Lieutenant Governor of Georgia. And you all know Dev Mandavi, Lucas Mueller, and Cassidy Wong, all class of 2018, who began Ethos Medical to make spinal taps quicker and safer, a bold move that could impact millions of lives. Each one of these individuals seized their days early and sometimes even before graduation to pursue and accomplish a dream. And you know what? You can too. We all have dreams, and I know you have many, many dreams. But I want to ask you to take a minute and think about what is your most important dream. What's burning in your soul as the number one thing you want to accomplish in life? Now that you've identified your dream, it's in the universe and it's waiting for you to go after it. And I would like to encourage you to go one step further and write down your goal in a place, maybe even put it in your phone, that will remind you of your dream. And once you accomplish it, whether in 1 month, 5 or 30 years, send Tech's Alumni Association a note and let them know that you set your goal here on May 4th, 2019, and you've accomplished it, so that your Georgia Tech family can celebrate you. As you walk out of McCamish today, with your Georgia Tech education, with your supportive family and friends, and with these 3 basic principles of being your best self, champion others, and seizing the day, we know that you will accomplish the goal you just set, and you will make an incredible impact in our world because you are a graduate of the Georgia Institute of Technology, class of 2019. Congratulations and go Jackets.
That's great. Thanks. I've got a small gift for you. Thank you, Gretchen. Thank you for everything you've done for Georgia Tech, and thanks for speaking with us today.
Thank you, President
Thank you.
Peterson.
And now, I'd like to take a moment to recognize the achievements of some of our other hardworking students who are in attendance today. In addition to our degree programs, Georgia Tech offers a number of certificate programs as part of our commitment to lifelong learning. One such program is called Excel. It's offered through the Institute for Leadership and Entrepreneurship in the Scheller College of Business. This program is a four-year-long program and course of study, and is one of only 260 such programs in the nation. We're proud this afternoon to recognize the Excel students who earned their certificates this semester. They are the first 7 graduates of Georgia Tech's Excel program, and they're joined by their families with us this afternoon. Would the Excel students please stand and be recognized? Thank you, and good luck in everything you have before you. We now come to the time that you've all been waiting for, the conferring of your degrees. So, Leah, the clock has ticked down to 0 days, 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds. The moment of walking across the stage represents the culmination of much work and achievement for each of our graduates. I would ask that after you receive your degree on stage, you return to your seat and show your fellow students the same respect that they've given you as you cross the stage. At this time, I'm pleased to welcome Dr. Raphael Bross, Provost and Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs, to the podium. Dr. Bross will now introduce the academic deans by college and then present the candidates for the bachelor's degree.
Good afternoon. Are you all there? Come on, good afternoon. Well, there's a very special graduate today. And I want to take a minute to, with the power vested on all you about to be alumni of Georgia Tech, stand up and welcome President Peterson to your class. Come on, come on. Thank you. Thank you very much. You have a very prominent member of your class now. Associate Dean John Tone will present the undergraduate candidates for degrees in the Ivan Allen College of Liberal Arts.
Will the awesome candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree in the unique Ivan Allen College of Liberal Arts please rise and remain standing? Mr. President, I have the honor of presenting to you those candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree who have completed the requirements for this degree.
From the Ivan Allen College of Liberal Arts, Bachelor of Science in Applied Languages and Intercultural Studies, Abigail Faith Geiger. Karina Maria Mandak Saldivar. Tara Helena Sidhu. Sarah N. Wilcox. Bachelor of Science in Public Policy, Daniel Allison. Megan Elise Banks. Mary Elizabeth Burke. Hannah Grace Christian. Elizabeth Tate Crimes. Maura Frances Curry. William D. Finkelstein. Chelsea Gow. Evan Parker Gillen. Alexandria Ann Hopkins. Rebecca Marie Kaufman. Maurice Montgomery. Christine Nakajima.
Sarah Oz.
Janelle Haziel Owushu. Peyton Paige Reisinger, also receiving a Bachelor of Science in Economics. Taylor Joanne Strickland. Darrell James Terry II. Charles Winfred Watwood III. Bachelor of Science in History, Technology, and Society. Hannah Catherine Korp. Casey Parnell Crow. Kaylee Georgina Haskin, also receiving a Bachelor of Science in International Affairs. Keely E. Mruck, also receiving a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. Kaylan Janai Pugh. Jonathan Weinberg, Bachelor of Science in Literature, Media, and Culture. Victor Wayne Alexander II. Parker Davidson Braun. Emily Elizabeth Bunker. John Thomas Conway. Thomas Charles Crawford. Martine Gabrielle Fortune. Vivian Huang. Madeline Lore Yates McCandless. Rosemary Teresa Petrone. Erin Nicole Rodenroth. Bintu Silla. Catherine Marie Studahar. Lillian Hannah Steele. Bachelor of Science in International Affairs and Modern Languages. Rita Ando Berglund.
William
Taylor
Enroe.
Ann Ealing.
William Enroe.
Nadia Humayun. Alicia Elena Martinez. Surya Shaker Narayanan. Sarah Michelle Schmidt. Bachelor of Science in International Affairs. Chelsea Ann Ashworth. Sanjana Basker.
Kylie Bird.
Arathna Chandra. Emily Catherine Finger. Alexander Flack. Janelle Marie Gale. Sanders Keys Gilmer. Hannah Jean Kitzmiller. Lucia Garvin Lombardo. Alexandra Christine Merck. Sarah Catherine Moore. Clyde Edward Nelson IV. Elizabeth Nolan Osman. Samantha Joy Stewart, also receiving a Bachelor of Science in Biology. Chloe Thomas. Faith Erin Walker. Julianne Unha Watson. Nuha Sabab. Bachelor of Science in Economics and International Affairs. McLean K. Adler. Aaron Shannon Asbury. Nabil Nurullah Esmail. Gabrielle Marie Oliverio. Bachelor of Science in Economics. Ayodeji Oluwatosin Aladesomi. Dakari Jamal Cutts. Joshua Dylan Harlan. Susan Lee. Akanksha Maiti, Michael Thomas Murata, Prachi Mehta, Subin O, Eli Ayana Tsuchia, Skylar Reed Wilson,
Dean Marian Alavi will present undergraduate candidates for degrees in the Ernest Scheller Jr. College of Business.
Good afternoon. Candidates for Bachelor of Science in the Ernest Scheller College of Business, please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the honor of presenting to you those candidates for Bachelor of Science degree who have met all requirements for this degree.
from the Scheller College of Business, Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, Sabat Sahaladin Adus. Hiram Chisholm Allen V. Rachel Amra. Georgie Noel Arnett. Jose Gregorio Aviles Jr. Blake Larissa Averett. Hayden Bradley Ball. Bridget Grace Ballard. Sarah Caroline Bash. Isabel Marie Batugal. Peyton Allen Bell. Asher Berman. Lila Claire Best. Sobia Bahati. Ashley Elizabeth Bilson. Cassandra Rose Blake. Christian S. Bowles. Laura Elizabeth Branton. Sean Patrick Brennan. Elizabeth Walker Bugby. Chelsea Denise Nicole Burks. Emily Danae Burns. Lindsay Grace Burton. Namratha Sabrina Buxany. Naveen Haresh Baksani. Gabriela Maria Caesar. Joshua Austin Kane. Ciandra Ray Jean Calhoun. Matthew Robert Casillas. Kyle Lamont Serge Henderson. Malvika Chaudhry. Kevin Michael Chang. Darius Carl Chinoy. Sharon Yejin Choi. Alexander M. Christensen.
Tasia H. Chowdhury.
Mary Catherine Chiquillo. James Clinton Clark III. Patrick John Collins. John Tyler Cooksey. Holly Ann Corbett. Nathan David Cottrell. David Joshua Curry. Carolyn Elizabeth Cusick. Christopher George Dandino. Meghna Das. Ashul Deve. Sean Allen Davis. Junyue Dun. Garrett Allen Devaney. Rohit Devalapalli. Vanessa Abiyanaju Demorbi. Pei Ding. Lauren Marie Dingus. Kara Rose Dixon. Leah Renee Dodson. Samantha Kelly Draws. Burton Smith Delaney. Andrew Wayland Duncan. Natalie Jane Donahue. Lillian Xuanyang Duang. Jeremy Isaac Edlin. Bala Raji Ishwaran. Philip Un. William Shane Fallon. Powell Catherine Fennell. Eden Asla Fletcher. Brinkley Ray Frankham. William David Freeman. Lauren Alexandra Furking. Madeline Fry. Sam Fulkerson. Ashley Rose Gapasan. Zachary Adam Getty. Sarah Ann Gilbert. Paul Georgie. Rupal Goyle. Alan Eugene Gray, Jr. Abdullah Gay. Erica Carolyn Hake. Elaine McRae Haas. Jessica Ann Hahn. Mary McKeithen Haley. Elizabeth Jane Hamill. Adam Edward Handlin. Joshua Joseph Hedinger. Lillian Frances Higgins. Anna Marie Hightower. Christina Arlene Hill. Anthony Brandon Howell. Connie Huang. Florina Alexandra Ilya. Jordan K. Jewell. Changmin Jiang. Brendan Jones. Christina Elise Jordan. Sarah Elizabeth Jory. Indija Cunnin. Mohammed Hasham Khan. Irene Esther Kim. Jackson Kim. Jin Sol Kim. Sung Jae Kim. Travis Connor King. Ellie Mackenzie Clarl. Evan Price Knox. Ye Lim Ko. Harry Simowitz Kortik. Julia Lan. Thomas Zahner Langstaff. Caroline Inetha Lemons. Kimberly Ann Lemons. Lincoln Lamar Leroy. Anthony Thomas Lopresti II. Diana Liu. Charles Luskow. Catherine Ann McIsaac. Tony Bernard Macklin Jr. Layla Menushuk. Lacey Martin. Mary Margaret Martin. Key Mastrion. Molly Ann McLaughlin. Leah Jameson Miller. Megan Elizabeth Miller. Brantley Shane Mitchell. Elizabeth Ruth Mizell. Brian Daniel Mobley. Jonathan Bradley Morgan. Sahitya Chowdhury Nara. Roland Hall Neal III. Marianne Elizabeth Nichols. Adam Justin Knoll. Anna Elizabeth Noteboom. Sylvester Chimela Obonda. Georgia Kate Olenek. Amanda Catherine O'Neill. Kayla Nicole Orris. Ellen Tang Pao. Bianca Papa. Krishna Sanjay Parikh. Timothy J. Park. Avinash Rajendra Parmar. Irfan Parvini. Prachi Patel. Ushma J. Patel. John Graham Penhaligon. Shane Andrew Phillips. Alexa Nicole Pietri. Hunter Houston Podlin. Evan James Pope. Emmett Zettler Quinn III. Ankita Raghupathi. Mira Rajagopalan. Ahmad Awais Rathor. Alexandra Beth Rieger. Charles Arthur Rogers. Juliana Michelle Rogers. Margaret L. Rogers. Abigail Francis Rogstad. Darius Ratnam. Ismay B. Ruangvivapant. Julia Quen Rule. Catherine Marie Seguin. Sid Sakar. Neira Selimovich. Nathan David Settlage. Mark David Sewell. Nevika Ruchi Shah. Robert Charles Shaw. Anna Christine Skettle. Jenny Son. Seonjin Song. Dylan Andrew Steinfeld. Paxton Danielle Stevens. Andrew Z. Stormer. Elizabeth Grace Strom. Mary Catherine Ponder Terry. Rena Tucker. Amy Elise Thompson. Joshua Laird Thompson. Jessica Clark Thornberry. Kelly Elizabeth Tracy. Demetria Nicole Trakovich. Claire Marie Turner. Celine Urgen. Andrew J. Vincent. Monica Q. Vu. Oliver Weir. Kendall Ann Welkley. Hamilton David Wexler. Madeline Andres Whitridge. Joshua Elijah White. Grace Louise Williams. Kayla Renee Williams. Savannah Nicole Williams. Colton Matthew Williamson, Meredith Lynn Wolpert, Greta Victoria Wood, Paul Min-suk Yang, Lauren Elizabeth Yap, Chin Yu Yuen, Rocio Zaragoza Santa Cruz, Christina Zhang, Chen Chen Zhou,
Thank you. Interim Dean David Collard will present the undergraduate candidates for degrees in the College of Sciences.
Candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree in the College of Sciences, including the first ever graduates from the neuroscience program, please rise and remain standing. Ms. President, I have the honor of presenting to you those candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree who have completed the requirements for their degree.
Thank you, Dave.
from the College of Sciences.
The Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience.
Sarah Abdul Hamid, Juliana Alfonso, Neil Adewala, Patricia P. Chang, Simran Gidwani, Grace Ann Newville, Amy J. Patel, Zara Rose, Asif Sheikh, Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry, Christiana Victoria Aruka, Pranusha Ataluru, David Elward, Monique Bagwell, Morgan Claire Banks, Anna Elizabeth Bolag, Lauren Nicole Brewer, Olivia Rose Cody, Ariane Sam Esfandiari, Quincy Faber, David Norman Fogg Jr., Belen Gonzalez, Nivedita Ketan Goswami, Sophia Magdalene Goldberg, Caitlin Ann Hansen, Kai V. Huang, Sarah Emily Hededoff, Connor Joseph Huddleston, Brian Jenkin, Kevin Jin, Elizabeth Lee Joy, Efienia Izmini Kuparos, Lauren Kelly, Ryan Elliott Birch Kern, Alexandra Kirsten, Ramaz Kadir, Andrew J. Lale, Benjamin Philip Lee, Mary Ellen Malone, Renee Julia Sanchez Manalo, Rachel Aaron Miller, Connor J. Mount, Asia Nicely, Samuel Obi, Deepika Pahari, Lindsay Nicole Platt, Caitlin Jean Kebuff, Angelica Vanessa Rodriguez, Derek Edward Sadowski, Arushi Saini. Haley Faye Celsi. Oludamilola Temitope Taiwo. Akil Upad. Kenneth Gigi Williams, also receiving a Bachelor of Science in Biology. Bachelor of Science in Applied Physics. Aaron Song. Bachelor of Science in Physics. Matilda Simone Averett McKenzie, also receiving a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics. Michael Lee Barnhill. Catherine Rachel Barry. Kirsten Michelle Boley. Jacob Lewis Campbell, also receiving a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering. Parker L. Goldman. Damon Stephen Francis Griffin, also receiving a Bachelor of Science in Applied Languages and Intercultural Studies. Kieran Francis Hartley. Kenneth John Higginbotham. Zachary Alexander Kennedy. Pralha Irfan Kawaja. Grace J. Kim. Adam Ray Cull. Shoban Kulshrestha, also receiving a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering. David Samuel Lehman. Harshil Makajani. Terrence Moretti. Richard Brewer Newsom. Eduardo Pellegrini Laste. Eric Connor Pretch. Hannah Catherine Price, also receiving a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics. Charles Thomas Proenza. Liam James Ritchie. Robert Joseph Scheiper III. Joel Stansberry. Douglas Byron Allen Stewart. Joanna Wiedemeyer. William Howard Wills III. Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, Claire N. Allison. Daniel Anderson. Elliot Carter Brim. Christian Alexander Cheney. Rishab Chawla. Alexander Choi. Christine Chong. Peyton Nicole Cleary. Erica Simone Ellison. Sabrina Gallego. Leila Ghazi. Shadman Hassan Ibn Masood. Margaret Emily Leach. Nina Sarah Lau. Owen Dennis McAteer. Rachna Patel. Samantha Ann Torres. Lindsay D. Ulmer.
Dean Steve McLaughlin will present the undergraduate candidates for the degrees in the College of Engineering.
Are there any engineers out there? I think there's a few. Candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree from the largest, most diverse, and best College of Engineering in America, please rise and remain standing. Mr. President, I have the honor of presenting to you those candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree who have completed their requirements for this degree. Thank you.
From the College of Engineering, Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering, Kevin Paul Abraham. Oriofe Ifalade Aderabigbe. Rodrigo Alarcón Biesca. Bora Albaha. Ashner Arekavala. Jonathan Michael Arthur. Nikhil P. Arodkar. Yasine Banani.
Max Benata.
Sandeep Kumar Vishal Bethapudi. Spencer David Bonjovi. Jack Brysinger. Christian Percy Bryce. Tyler Garrett Brown. Caitlin Burke. Daniel Martin Chase. Run Feng Chen. Justin Chung. David Cho. Samuel G. Choi. Ying Ying Choi. Morgan Alexandra Clark. Robert Litton Cooper. Daniel Dakev. Gabrielle DeRosa. Devlina Das. Daniel DeBoard. Robera D. Gilletta, also receiving a Bachelor of Science in Physics. Jonathan Paul Dolan. Benjamin Jared Flam. Soham Uday Gadgil. Stephanie Galang.
Samuel Gadale.
Yotam Zarezki Gabri, also receiving a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. Kyle Robert Goins. Emily Grau. Jack Kai-Ming Guan. Jordan Ashley Harvey Morgan. Joshua Henson. Kevin Jeffrey Helinski. Hope Hong. Lance Allen Hudson. Nigel Jack. Fride Kamshadi. Thomas Corbett Caniff. Brian J. Kaplan. David Lee Kelsey. Preston Wilson Kemp. Matthew Gilbert Kern. Sharon Kumar. Pratik Kunapuli. Tyler Lee. Alberto Lee. Sylvan Lee. Xinyu Lee. Peter Charles Loyagono. Kostov Malik. Morgan Mango. Gavin Lee McWilliams. Alexander Bentley Meyer. Luke D. Miller. Rishab Satish Mokapati. Tanner James Muldoon. Joel David Musell. Joseph Matthew Niger. Keenan Robert Nicholson. Norris Philip Nicholson. Wirapid Pendler Gidsikin. Seth Adam Peden. Christopher Pham. Noah Karlstrom Pills. Noah Roberts. Javier Ramon Rodriguez. Zachary Lamar Russell. Jack Richard Sakani, Alexandru Yosua Salazan, Nick A. Shapiro, Jackson Shu, David Aduwale Shoni, Aaron J. Spack, Wayne Stevens II, Benjamin A. Thornbloom, Neha Argawal Tibrawal, Gabriel Trevino Santos, Michael S. Troughton, Robert Kenneth Walsh III, Derek Michael Watson, Mufan Wang, Blake West, Matthew Austin White, Zachary David Wright, Yunfang Shin, Yuchen Kenneth Yang, James Jaesung Yu, Justin Yu Zhang, Victor James Zhu, Bachelor of Science in Nuclear and Radiological Engineering, Rebecca Jean Ambrecht, Jonathan Miguel Aru, Dea Ray Boyajiv, Raymond Chester Jr., Wesley Burke Crane, Molly Kate Elizabeth Gavello, Matthew David Huffman, Stephen Wallace Johnston, Christian Anthony Maniscalco, Benjamin Martin, Corey Daniel Smith, Aaron Riley Summer, Tara Elizabeth Sparks, Bachelor of Science in Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering, Nia Rumzi Abdulkader, Louis Kwasi Apraku Bodhi, Amy Azad, Jacqueline Iwaresi Bedu, Harshal B. Bakshi, Lawrence Tyler Ballou, Lauren Victoria Barre, Hugo Nicholas Bassas, Jonathan Bentata Benazri, Catherine Tyler Bernard, Jessica Rose Berry, Cameron Lee Black, Charles Richard Bond, Dmitry Bondarev, Ryan A. Bonk, Kirby G. Broderick, Alexandra Elizabeth Brown, Joey Bueller, Alexander Joseph Casado, Nabil Chatriwala, Akshay A. Chitterwar, Anthony D. Chu, Paul Louis Charamello, Shane K. Claudius, James Edward Koshel Jr., Terrence James Connors, Addison Fisher Cornell, Rudy Rom Crosby, Josiah Levi Davidson, Kayla Chanel Dean, Rosveli Diaz, Solom Tochukwu Chimoanya Egbuga, Christopher R. Elliott, Josh Everett, Anaïs Nisette Felix Carrion. Caleb Gannon Fettner. Rebecca Noel Furloin. Dana Paulita Francisco. Adrian Michael Franzone. Sabrina Frost. Amanda Fugate. Pallavi Garg. Osama Mohammed Ghani. Kathleen Giles. Carter Burns Gillen. Blake Pierce Glover. Cassandra J. Gomez. Vikram Venkatesh Gopal. Garrett D. Gresham. Aristotle Franklin Groves. Punith Guru Prasad. Shaban Halim. Luke Hammock. Brandon Kevin Harris.
Noah Harris.
Allison Renee Heffron. Jamie Elizabeth Heinrich. Alec Blaine Hendricks. Shirley Huang. Sean Ilter. Sanathan Iyer. Kirsten Jackson. Cody Anderson Jones. Alishan Karim Kassani. Grant Coleman Kang. Stephen Minwoo Kang. Swaini Kania. Suchir Karmakar. Ryan James Keith. Catherine Jo Kicklighter. Jae-young Kim. Samuel Kim. In-sung Ko. Connor William Kett. Yuzuki Kondo. Jun Koo. Aditya Krishnachand. Sarah Lanning. Ga-hyun Lee, also receiving a Bachelor of Science in Applied Languages and Intercultural Studies. Jae-yoon Lee. Minju Lee. Spencer Leff. Nicholas Enrique Leon. Cole Bradley Lewis. Jade Cherie Lewis. Danny Lee. Haley Caroline Lodi Woolard. Elba Christina Lugo. Hari Madhu. Elizabeth Ann Kapulon Maguyan. Maximilian Alexander Mockinson. Malina Elise Maraviglia. Jade Aaron Marcus. Anna Fu Chan Marianchuk. Arti Garrett Matthew Metropole. Christopher Ryan Miller. Henry Aaron Mills. Kian Mohammadi. Chukwanugo Chukwusomebi Mojeku. Mohammed Arbaz Rahishali Momin. Evan David Morgenstern. Max March Musser. Regu V. Namawar. Karan Suresh Narayanan. Ethan Joseph Nault. Sarah Elizabeth Nellums. Madeline Mary New. Wesley Aaron Newton. Liam Wynn. Colleen Marie Nieto. Samir Sanat Nileshwar. Hannah Margaret Orr.
Joshua M.
Daniel
Oswald.
Palacios. Daniel Palacios. Un Chang Park. Miles DeWitt Parker. Andrew Lloyd Parriott. Patrick Noble Pertain. Jeet Patel. Parth Hitesh Patel. Devin Michael Pellegrino. Kendall Stewart Perret. Jim Neal Peterson III. David Blake Phillips. Anna Marie Pinion. Walker Lynchpool Jr. Allison Ann Pope. Joseph Portillo. Seper Porashiravi. Luke Oliver Pratt. Alexander Amir Raban. Nicholas Allen Randall. Rachel Scott Reed. Jake Rejwan. Mackenzie E. Rideout. Ricardo Rivera Jr. Gunnar William Robinson. Juan Mauricio Rodriguez. Craig Andrew Rowe. Juan Sebastian Rubio Lopez. Vinayak Ruya. Omar Sadadin. Lucas Salvador. Sam Yi Ting. Sanakil Samudrala. Jesus Sanchez Rosianes.
Colin Lee Santoro.
Swagath Sarauji. Adarsh Sasi. Gottlieb Sauerman. Tahir Kyle Savisher. Catherine Grace Schluter, also receiving a Bachelor of Science in Biomedical Engineering. Ingemar Schmidt. Joseph Allen Schneider III. Andrew Ryan Shalaba. Devin Sconzo. Austin Horace Seagars. Juhwan Shin. Joshua Singh. Michael Jeffrey Slayton. Joseph Gregory Smigla. Will Smith Purcell, John D. Sparkman, Jonathan Spalton, Jonathan Derek Spearman, Rachel Curtis Spencer, David M. Spinney Jr., Raghav Srivastav, Niall Christopher Stanzak, Samantha Elaine Stevenson, James Joseph Stillwell Jr., Ashley Marie Stroop, Tommy Hobart Lee Stiles, Alexander Sun, Jihoon Sung, Yadnik Tadavarthi, Blaise Brunel Tally Nembot, Wilkervins Tamar, Ryan S. Thomas, Annie Thornburg, Jacob Clifton Tillery, Michael N. Trevisan, Thao Man Dan Trong, Mitchell Cass Tuck, Zoe Anna Turin, Hunter Dorsey Ubersox, Nicholas Urbicane, Kyle Thomas Varnado, Sarah Violante, Molly Elizabeth Vitek, Joshua Von Holtz, Logan T. Walker, Christopher Robert Walter, Andreas Nehemiah Jonte Ward, Brendan Alexander Ward, Elena Wassenaar, John Joseph Greer Watson, Franklin T. Westbrook, Lee Battle Whitley, Tyler David Williams, Janek David Witharana, Keenan Lee Witzkin, Samuel Lee Wolfson, Avery Z. Yang, Tiffany Ann Yang, Paul Jordan Yavaro, Shiyan Zhan, Jenny Hao Zhang, Kyle Vincent Zeitler, Caroline May Zhang, Corey Zhang, Felix Zhang, Rebecca Ann Zelinsky, David Zink, Daniel Zuniga Lopez Jr.,
Well, congratulations. Will the candidates please rise? Upon the recommendation of the faculty of the Georgia Institute of Technology and by the authority of the Board of Regents of the University System of Georgia, I confer upon each of you the bachelor's degree with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereunto appertaining. Congratulations, graduates. Graduates, to symbolize your achievement, you may now move the tassel on your mortarboard from the right to the left. Congratulations. Please be seated. Almost there, hang with me. At this time, I'd like to introduce Captain Daniel Brand, Operations Flight Commander from the Air Force ROTC, to recognize those graduates who are being commissioned into the armed forces.
Good evening. Today, I have the privilege of honoring a special group of students in the graduating class of 2019. Will the graduates of the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps ROTC programs please stand and be recognized? Mr. President, in addition to their academic degrees, these students completed a rigorous program focusing on physical conditioning, academics, and leadership to become officers in the United States Armed Forces. For their outstanding accomplishments and patriotism, please show your appreciation and congratulate these graduates. Thank you.
Georgia Tech alumni are an extraordinary group of high achievers. To welcome the members of this graduating class into the Fellowship of Tech, I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Bird Blitch, class of 1997, Industrial and Systems Engineering, and Chair of the Board of Trustees for the Georgia Tech Alumni Association. Bird.
All right. It is my pleasure to welcome you for the very first time as alumni of the Georgia Institute of Technology. Congratulations. Now I want to share with you just for a few minutes what it means to be an alumnus. The who, the what, and the why is very important here. So who are Georgia Tech alumni? Alumni include Olympic athletes, 2 Nobel Prize winners, top military officials, astronauts, CEOs, presidents of 2 countries, proving that Georgia Tech is at the forefront of the future and the new ideas that really do change the world we live in. In public service, Shirley Mewburn, who graduated in 1956 with a degree in electrical engineering and was one of the first 2 women to receive a Georgia Tech diploma. Jimmy Carter, 39th President of the United States, and Juan Carlos Varela, current President of Panama. Told you there were 2 presidents. But they're all alumni. CEOs, almost too many to name. CEOs of Walmart, AT&T, and of course our beloved Waffle House. Yeah. We love our Waffle House, and they're all alumni. Science and technology, Shane Kimbrough, astronaut and former commander of the International Space Station. Carrie Mullis, 1993 Nobel Prize winner in chemistry. Sandy Magnus, former NASA astronaut and spoke at the master ceremony just yesterday. They are all alumni. So engineers, Nobel laureates, business executives, mathematicians, chemists, these are all people who use what they learned right here at Georgia Tech to go out and change the world. And so take a moment to just appreciate where you are and the table that you sit at now with this degree. And of course, we also can't forget one of our most famous alumni, George P. Burdell, the greatest. But when you graduate into this forum, it starts to sink in that all these individuals started right here, sitting in these chairs, walking across this stage on a day like today. So number two, what do Georgia Tech alumni do? In one word, it's philanthropy, giving back, making things better for future generations. The Georgia Tech Alumni Association, which you are now a part of, doesn't require a membership fee. It exists to serve you and promote you and help you in your future. I'm living proof that the Tech Alumni Network works. I've launched 2 companies out of the Advanced Technology Development Center, or the ATDC, right here at Georgia Tech, and I could not have done it without the powerful network of Georgia Tech graduates right here in Atlanta. Now, you've worked hard for this Georgia Tech degree, but take advantage of it because Tech alums help each other and give back to each other. Third, why is it important? Georgia Tech's alumni have time and again proved that they are the most generous in the world. Our alumni, I don't know if you know this, give back more than double the national average, And this tradition of philanthropy is being passed on to current Yellow Jackets, with Tech boasting the largest number of student donors of any public research university in the country. This type of fundraising in the name of Roll Call or Georgia Tech's Fund for Excellence is intended to promote education at Georgia Tech by providing unrestricted funds for people. That's student scholarships, recruitment and retention of top faculty, and support of exciting new academic programs. Now, students and alumni, we all share a passion for Georgia Tech. We have a bond, a very common commitment, and we all want to go make Tech even better than it was when we first arrived and got here. So when you choose to give back, you fund solutions to problems, impact future students and their experiences here, and you start to change the world. Speaking of changing the world and making Georgia Tech better, you're also part of a very unique group that will have the last signature of our great president, our 11th president, Bud Peterson, on your diploma. Now, his tremendous service has increased the value of all of our Tech degrees, and so one last time, please join me in giving him a special thank you, and also the Queen Bee, Val. All right, what's next? I want you to take out your phone, if you're not already texting on it right now. We've launched a new alumni app to keep you connected and engaged with all of us when you leave here. Yep, and this invitation extends to everybody here, everybody. So all you do is you go to your app store and search for GT Alumni, log in as your usual GT username and password. We don't want you to forget that. And the first one to do so receives $10,000. I'm just joking. But for real, thank you for all your contributions here on this campus or wherever as a student. And now it's time. Go create the future. Go change this world for the better. We stand on the shoulders of giants. And by all means, have a lot of fun doing it. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you, Bird. At this time, sympathetic vibrations will lead us in the alma mater, followed immediately by the faculty recessional. The graduates and audience are requested to remain standing as the platform party recesses, and then I invite all of you to join in the singing of the nation's best-known fight song, Rambling Wreck from Georgia Tech. For our newest Georgia Tech graduates, we have a special treat. As you exit the McCamish Pavilion, the whistle will blow several times in your honor. Thank you for your attendance this afternoon. Congratulations and Godspeed.
Oh, we of Tech, arise, behold, the banner as it reigns supreme. For from on high the white and gold, within its triumphant gleam, the spirit of the cheering throng resounds with joy revealing a neighborhood in praise and song in memory of the days gone by. O Scion of the Southland, in our hearts you shall forever find.